And I am live. We're missing somebody very, very important today. So we weren't going to do a stream last week or this or possibly next because Bill has.
We weren't going to do a stream
Whoa.
last week.
Let me get rid of the echo there and mute that. Bill has a rather pressing contract to change the whole spine of a network that he manages for the government. So it's a pretty big deal. And they dictated the time at which he had to do the changeover, which is right now. So that kind of sucks for us. So Bill, when you watch this later, I hope it's all going well and have a great time getting that done. And hopefully it's all smooth and you'll be able to jump back into action next week or pretty soon after. So everyone, sorry Bill's not here, couldn't make it, but I thought we'd need to do something anyway. It's good to be consistent with video and streaming. So for those of you who've actually showed up to watch, thanks for joining me. I'm actually not entirely sure how this is going to go. I was kind of hoping to make this the first unofficial community day. So what does that mean? That means there are so many people on Discord now. We have a really cool community there. So if you haven't joined our Discord, go to coriolis-effect.com. In fact, let me just make a banner for that so I can make it easier for people to see where to go. Coriolis, because I used to spell this word wrong all the time. Okay, so there it is. It's across the bottom. So go to that URL. At the very top of the page is a link that says Discord. So that's the invite, that's the permanent invitation link to join our Discord. If you haven't already, if you're coming across this for the first time, definitely get there. There's a really cool group of people there and a lot of interesting people sharing what they're working on with, different electronics projects, but a lot of rebuilding Commodores, Amigas, and C64s and 128. So what I wanted to start with today, and we'll just see how it goes and see if I'm actually going to throw this out there. Anyone joining the stream live who's working on some cool projects, retro computing, electronics, anything that we kind of is in the wheelhouse of our Discord server. There's some people there working on audio. I know someone just joined recently, Maverick. Hi, Maverick, K4NFP. I guess you must also be a radio ham, so good on you. Asking questions about audio bandwidth, preamplifier circuits and things like that. So there's a lot of cool discussions. So definitely join us there. So what I'm going to do to kick things off is actually go through some of those live, and hopefully some of you, if you're on the stream, let's look at the comments here. Feel free to ask me anything as well. Mark Hughes has already put his hand up to join, so Mark, I will get you on very shortly. I'll send you the invite link too, and we can actually also talk about what you've done in the past with Teach Me PCB and let people know. There's a lot of people on our Coriolis Effect Discord who are using or wanting to get into using KiCad for hobby PCB design projects, and they may find the Teach Me PCB Discord and courses that you have beneficial. So I'll get you on in just a moment if you're available. So let's kick this off. First, Lee, let's have a quick look at I'm going to do a bit of a screen share here, so hopefully it works on my screen one. So this is our channel. You can see I've subscribed to a bunch of different things. So I just want to start by this. I was really hoping, and I know it's very short notice, Kevin, and you're depending where you are, and if you're still at work, maybe you can't jump on today, but I was really hoping you'd tell us more about this project. So you've got all these parts have just arrived for your 250-469-60 clone board, and looks like you've got all the parts in there, so that's awesome. Run, stop, restore. I guess that's the yeah, Retro 8-Bit Shop is where you get this kit, obviously. And I guess the idea is you have to replace the PLA for the 64, but we've got this. You've got your chips in there, the critical Commodore chips. Looks like you've managed to source those. Original character generator. I'm guessing that's a character generator ROM in there. But look at this. There's your bread bin case and a fresh, new, beautiful motherboard ready to go with the chips you've collected and all the other parts. That's going to be a really awesome 64. Can't wait to see you actually running it. I'd encourage you to, at least if you can't join us live, make some video of the assembly process, how that goes, share with us your experience, and then yeah, some video of you actually using it in operation would be really cool. So that's impressive. Now, this other question came in from Maverick. I mentioned you just a moment ago about just a basic preamplifier to boost an audio signal. And you had stated in the Discord, this is an LM5532. I guess that's the dual version of the preamp, LM5532. Yep. That's a classic. The NE5532, sorry, I said LM before, I meant NE. So I'm into audio, so this is kind of in my wheelhouse. This kind of lit me up when I saw this morning. With a 10 microfarad and 5K resistor on the front end, so you have the first amp configured as a voltage follower. So it essentially has, the op amp has a virtually infinite impedance if you're treating it as an ideal op amp. So yes, that 5K resistor sets your input impedance at 5K, which is fine for a line level audio signal, no problem. Most preamps or existing line level outputs of equipment will drive that very happily. Your 10 microfarad cap gives it a pretty decent low end response. So I'm guessing, you know, you wanted a high pass filter to get bumps and rumbles out, and a 10 microfarad. I don't know. Let's just quickly look at that using back of the envelope. So you know the reactance of an ideal cap is 1/2 pi FC. So, and I don't want to do this in my head, so let's let me just bring up the calculator there real quick. Okay, so we're going to do 1 over open paren 2 times 3.14, just keep it rough, times. Now the frequency is we're going to separate that out from our calculation to work out what the corner frequency is. So basically, we have when the reactive capacitive reactance is equal to that resistance, we have a 50-50 voltage divider, which gives you a 3 dB or 6 dB, depending how you're looking at it, power or voltage. So that can be considered your lower corner frequency. So let's just do 10 microfarad is 0.00, so milli, micro farad. That's 10 microfarads, okay, times 5K ohms. That's your RC. And so when XC equals 5K, so we switch the 5K for the frequency in our formula. So we 1 over 2 times 3.14, 2 pi, times 5K times what was it? Yeah, 10 microfarads, right? So your lower corner frequency is pretty low. It's 3.2 hertz. You're not going to have audio content down there. I mean, your hearing can't go down past 20 anyway. So we have the same thing in 3 places there, I see. Now, because the second op amp is connected to ground through its inverting input, that sets the bias point for both inputs. The first op amp is actually connected to ground through that 5K resistor. So any input offset current that's used to keep the input at 0 volts, because an op amp's, one way of looking at how op amps work is you can say it wants to keep both of its inputs at the same voltage at all times. And in a quiescent state with a normal balanced power supply, the inputs are biased to 0 volts or right in the middle of your plus minus supply. So that's done through your input 5K resistor. So depending on the input bias, the input op amps have a characteristic on the data sheet that's always there. It's the input offset current. And your 10 microfarad cap is also there to block any offset voltage that's caused by the offset current across that resistor to ground from your whatever your source is, where the signal comes from. And we do the same on the output again here. That's why for audio, we almost always couple stage to stage through capacitors, because there are little biases introduced in DC because of things like the input offset current characteristic of the op amp. Okay, so that's cool. That'll work fine to buffer your signal. The only thing is that's a relatively low impedance, and that's a very high capacitance. So if you were driving this from a high impedance audio source like a guitar pickup, I know you're not in this case because you've already clarified that in the Discord. What we would have is that capacitor, and with this network on the input here is only a 3.2 hertz high pass filter, I should say. It's only a 3.2 hertz high pass filter with a theoretically 0 impedance driving source. That means whatever drive it can provide as much current as it needs to make the voltage be what it wants it to be. And so, yeah. So anyway, that all looks really good to me. If you want, here's a tip for op amps, especially in audio. They all give you these crazy idyllic data sheet specs, okay? And the NE5532 and there's modern replacements for it that are even lower noise and distortion, that have miraculously, like you can't believe how low the noise and distortion are of these things, like the LM4562. And so they give you these amazing parameters of really low noise, low distortion, all of that. You must bear in mind they only give you those parameters at the rated voltage supply. And yet the data sheet will tell you you can run an op amp on a different range of supply voltages. So let me open up the NE5532. Let's open up the NE5532 data sheet, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. If I can find it really quick, I have bazillions of data sheets here, and I'm pretty sure I have that one because I've used that op amp in quite a few projects as well. So let's see, component information. And if I can't find that one, I'll find a similar one. That's okay. I have a massive data sheets folder here. I'll put it on the shared screen so you can see what I'm doing. So I've sorted some of them by manufacturer and some by generic sort of part type, like discrete FET, discrete diodes, etc. Okay, so let's find National Semiconductor was acquired by TI. So I think I grouped them together after some time. Texas Instruments. And let's find LM. Let's see. I haven't renamed the files. That's a shame. Floundering around here a bit. National Semiconductor had a lot of good op amps. Okay, so I have the LM. It was the 4562. Why do I not have this here? That's crazy. I have tons of op amp data sheets, surely. Maybe I should just jump online and do it there. The other one, another one that's a good example that I'll show you instead is Japan JRC. Let's see, oh gosh, am I really that disorganized, people? JRC, I do have it. Lovely. I like this. There's an audio op amp I really like, the NJM 2068. Okay, and I know about this because it's been used in some of the retro Roland gear that I like to play with. Okay, but this is still in production because it's a very popular alternative to American branded audio op amps. This is specifically designed with audio in mind, and it's exceptionally low noise. Now, if I'm looking sideways, it's because I'm looking at my other monitor, which has the data sheet on it, the PDF. But what I like about this is it's also, they made these in single inline packages as well. So you can do through hole, but really, really compact. But look at this. The operating voltage is from plus and minus 4 to plus and minus 18. So this op amp will not perform. It might actually work, but it's not going to work anything like what the data sheet says if you're running it on a single 5-volt supply rail with a split reference with a voltage divider. This will work in a guitar pedal because 8 volts is the minimum supply voltage, plus and minus 4. And you can simulate that with a single 9-volt supply, like most guitar pedals have a 9-volt battery or a 9-volt DC jack, and then they give it an artificial ground with a 2 resistor voltage divider. But look at this, the THD is really low. The typical is 0.001%. And the noise figure is rated using a Japan industry standard. So it's not, the data sheet's a bit different than what you'd see with, say, Texas Instruments, where it'll give you a noise figure in square root hertz, nanovolts per square root hertz, which is, to me, more meaningful. But this is an audio industry rating of 0.56 microvolt typical, and that's exceptionally low noise. But what they're not telling you is to get that distortion and that noise, you're actually going to run it at the full power supply voltage, which means your chips are getting warm because they've low noise, low distortion op amps have very high quiescent current. The way you get low noise in an amplifier circuit is you bias the output transistors on into approaching class A to remove any crossover distortion or things like that. And so what that means is to get low noise and distortion in an op amp, just like a discrete power amplifier that you might use for bookshelf speakers, say, it's the same. The theories, everything applies to both. You're biasing these output transistors on to reduce distortion, and biasing the input long tail pairs on pretty hard to reduce noise. And that means, if you look here, we have a power dissipation rating of, for the dip, 500 milliwatts, and for the SIP 800 because it has better airflow around it. The typical power supply voltage is going to be plus and minus 18, and most op amp and audio preamp circuits and mixing consoles and whatnot use plus and minus 15. And in a computer like your C64 or Amiga, in a typical computer, they give you 12, maybe just plus 12, or maybe plus and minus 12, but it's going to be noisy as hell because it's coming from a switching power supply that wasn't designed for audio. It was designed to supply plus and minus 12 for RS-232 for your console ports and modem ports. And so just bear that in mind. You're not going to get the performance that the data sheet says. If we look at and this is where the key is, right? So these are our performance specs for input offset current. Look at this, typically 5 nanoamps. So you're not going to get a lot of bias across a 5k ohm resistor tied to ground, but you will get some. The maximum can be as high as 200 nanoamps. So you want to calculate, okay, well, if it's a worst case scenario and I have a 100K resistor on the input of this op amp, tying it to ground, and it's 200 nanoamps, well, you're gonna get an input offset voltage. Where's my? I think I closed the calculator. Let me bring it up again. It always opens on my central screen, so I have to move it back over. But yeah, 200 nanoamps. So milli, micro, nano times, and let's say your input resistance was a 100 km resistor. Okay. So you're going to have a 0.02, so a 20 millivolt offset just because of the input of your op amp tied to ground through a 100 km resistor, and that would be worst case according to this op amp's data sheet. So, but all of this to say, like, we get these amazing gain bandwidth products, we get amazing low distortion, get amazing low input noise voltage with a source impedance. They specify a source impedance of 300 ohms. That would be something like a dynamic microphone. And this op amp I've seen used in input stages for mixing consoles where they're assuming you have a 300 ohm dynamic microphone plugged right into it, okay? And that's why they rate it and test it here. So, but they also say we're at 25 degrees C and now power supply is at plus and minus 15 volts. These figures for the electrical characteristics table, you can throw them out the window if you have to run this op amp at a lower voltage, say off a 9-volt battery or something like that. It's not going to be anywhere near as good. Performance always deteriorates with lower input power supply. So that's just something I find interesting and fascinating to talk about and valid. These are the kinds of things you need to think about if you're choosing to change. I had a lot of circuits where there was a simple TL064, which is a very low power quad op amp, general purpose. It's not particularly low noise, not particularly low distortion, and yet I'm like, I want to replace that with a better lower noise version, the TL084, and I put it in the design, and it doesn't really make any difference to what I'm hearing. And the reason is I'm using it outside of its rated spec from that table. So just something to be aware of. Anyway, this is totally a fine design. This will work nicely. I'm just saying, make sure you've got a good, clean plus and minus 15 volt power supply. I always like to run op amps from linear regulators if audio is involved, just because I don't want the noise, and linear regulators will do a better job of lowering the noise. So I see a bunch of you have jumped on and are adding comments. So I like this. This is cool. And let me see, Mark. Hopefully you're still on and you can jump on. And I did hear from. Looks like Kevin also replied and said you might be able to jump on and show us your kit. So let me do that. I'm going to send you the invite link. Give me 1 second here to get this going. Where's the Discord? Gotta get out of the Discord. And I'm going to copy the invite link to the clipboard, and I'm going to share that with you, Kevin. Give me 1 second. I'll just reply to your message in Discord. So just jump on as soon as you can. And Mark, I'll do the same. I'll DM you, Mark, and you can jump on just whenever you like as well. So I've sent you both the invite link to jump into the Discord, and just make sure your audio is good, your microphone's working, and everything. So yeah, Mark's on.
Ben!
And Mark, I want to say thank you for harassing me into using StreamYard, because this is so much easier than it was when Bill and I did it. We did a year and a half with XSplit and sort of, we basically were building the aircraft as we had pushed it off the edge of a cliff, and we're building it as we were plummeting to the ground below. But StreamYard made it very, very easy.
Hey, man, that is absolutely wonderful. I'm very happy to hear that.
And here's Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, good afternoon.
Join us.
Hi, Kevin.
Good afternoon.
Can
you hear me?
Yes, you sound loud and clear. It's coming through really good. I appreciate you being willing to jump on. So, Mark, what's that you're holding up there?
I was wondering if you knew. I know what it is, but I was going to play, I've got a secret first.
Well, to me, it looks like some kind of bracket for holding a heatsink and fan over. Oh, it's a speaker. Look at that.
It is a balanced mode resonator. These are put out by Tectonic, and it's got not exactly a purely pistonic element, but pretty close. But the cool thing about these, Ben, no crossover.
Oh, that's awesome. So there's no sitting still in the middle as it goes from pushing to pulling.
Well, that, and then the frequency crossover. You know how you need woofers and tweeters, different frequency ranges?
Yeah.
Not with these. So if I would have thought of it, I would have put one in the box I sent you or one of the mini box shipments I sent you this past week.
I did get all the parts, by the way.
Oh, good.
And just to satisfy everyone's curiosity watching, it's just another contract engineering project Mark and I are working on, and I'm helping put together some of the prototype and measuring things.
And doing a fantastic job of it. And then I also got this from you, so thank you, sir.
Yes, that's kind of a book review moment right there. I don't know if anyone else is. Normally, we like to put our noses in books about RF, analog, digital electronics, logics, Verilog, and any day I like reading technical stuff, but
I think Ben froze there for me. There he is.
Did I freeze?
Yep, you're back.
The Go Giver is an excellent book. I recommend it to anyone. And it's very short and sweet. You can read it in like 2 or 3 hours if you're a solid reader. But it's powerful.
I have to say, I feel attacked now, Ben.
Why?
You said you could read it in 2 or 3 hours if you're a good reader. I've been sitting on this for a week now. I need to open it. I'll do it this weekend.
I mean, once you start, actually. It's actually not your typical self-help book that's like, hey, you need to do this and do that. And I have a story about how I was successful because I did that. And no, it's not like that at all. It's just a story, and it's super easy to read. And Eli is saying, yeah, I mentioned it to Eli, he flew out from Philadelphia to California, hung out with me this week. So thank you, Eli. You are a great friend, and we had fun. We went to a Richie Kotzen concert together, and I talked to him about that book as well. And he said, it's the next on my list in Audible. So, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, I haven't met Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So Kevin, you posted something that got me really excited just this morning, like an hour ago on the Discord. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, so I am building a shortboard Commodore 64. Actually, that's what I just started doing. I just actually got the sockets done about 5 minutes ago.
So nice. That looks so nice. So basically, did you start with an old non-working 64 that had a damaged board, and you basically used the shell and keyboard, but you're reconstructing the inside? Is that the kit, or does the kit actually have the plastic parts too?
No, there's some people that actually sell the case and keyboard separate. So I originally had the original boards, but to be honest, I'm a complete idiot when it comes to desoldering chips. So I was like, well, I'd probably build a new board, and so when things break, I don't actually make things worse for myself. So I decided to just build new boards, have all the chips and sockets. Makes my life a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of makes me wish back in the day they'd socketed things. It would have made things easier for us all now. But if you want something to be affordable to where 26 million can buy one, 26 million people can have one, then I guess you're not going to be using sockets.
Yeah, you get a cheap out, and when you do use sockets, you have those crappy single wipes.
Yeah. I wonder. I've been really impressed lately with how just some of the low cost soldering and rework stations,
Yeah.
they've actually gotten so darn good that just ones that I bought one. It's kind of a brand that's become popular on Amazon. Yihua. I'll post links to the Discord a bit later, or if I can find them now, I might just quickly put them in the chat. Um,
Have you guys ever? I'm looking for a sample of it right now, but have either of you ever used Chip Quick?
I have a Chip Quick solder paste tube somewhere.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this stuff is I forget what the component metals are, if it's bismuth or something. But basically, you go to all of your solder joints and you add this solder metal in, and it drastically reduces the temperature that the solder will then reflow at. So you hit all these things, and then you come in with a heat gun, and stuff just falls off the board.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really handy. You can also do, just because I have it handy, if you want to go spend all of your nickels for socketed components. Uh-oh, I'm going to have to find that part. Hako makes a nice little gun that you just put right over the pin, heat it up, hit the little button, and it sucks the solder right out. That's a good way to go about it too, but those guns are like $200, so that's kind of a bummer. And then the other thing, in case you guys out there in TV land have never used it, you cover your part in liquid paste and then use solder braid, right? So you put the
Yeah.
solder braid
Yeah.
over the pin, hit it with your iron, the solder sucks up into the braid, and off you go.
Yeah. I love braid. I have one of those big old pump-based desolderers
Okay.
from when I started out as a teenager at college, and those things annoyed the heck out of me. And back then it was, $500-600 in Australia for
Oh,
for a gun-based vacuum pump one, and they got jammed all the time. I eventually worked for a company that had the budget to have stuff like that, and so I would do my own repairs after hours in their lab. And we got a paste soldering station that was for my first foray into surface mount rework, and it was awesome. Had these little tips that were like cups that would hold a pool of solder flush, and I could run it around the. So imagine that there's a QFN. I'd run it just along the edge, and it would do perfect solder joints. But back to rebuilding 64s and 128s. It's actually I'm really happy with. And there was a prior episode where I was actually using it to take some parts off of a Roland, a 1980s Roland delay rack, and I was desoldering the microcontroller and the ROM, so I could socket them. And uh, I'll find the link and post it. But for $120 or so, it's a really good desoldering one. It's perfect for if you actually did need to take parts off an old board. It's the only way I'd recommend, because it's not going to. You're worried with those old chips. We don't even know if some of them work, and you don't want to overheat the part.
yeah.
So some of those other methods of heating the whole board up with a lot of hot air and just pulling the chips out, it's okay, I think, for modern surface mount parts, but I would never want to do that for a 128 or a 64. I want to keep chips from overheating. So
Well, check out the Chip Quick if you haven't tried it, Kevin. It might really up your desoldering game.
Yeah, yeah. Alan, good to see you on the stream. Thanks for joining us today. Yeah, those Hacko 808s are amazing. And yeah, Hackos were the first sort of really good quality non-USA made soldering stuff. I guess they're Japanese. I think they're Japanese. And all the ones I find now on eBay or AliExpress or Amazon that are other brands are really copies of Hacko's, because Hacko just figured it out and got it right. So it makes sense if you're going to do something like that, you'd model it after the best.
It was sitting right next to me. I didn't even see it. So for people who want to know what I'm talking about, this is solder liquid paste, and it really helps things flow. And
that looks like flux, right? This
is flux. I'm sorry.
It's flux, but with a special additive that makes it just flow that much better at a lower temperature. Is that what you mean?
Well, no. This is the stuff that you put. So you would solder this. If I had my other computer up right now, I'd demonstrate. But basically, you take this and you try to just swamp the joints in it, right? You would put this on each solder joint that's already there, and that changes the chemistry so that the next time you go to melt this, it melts at 50 C's cooler.
Wow. Yeah, isn't the metallurgy of solder just incredible?
It really is.
Like, yeah. I'm so blown away by how awesome those material scientists are.
Yeah, the eutectics. And then have you heard about transient liquid phase sintering paste?
Say that slowly. No, I haven't.
Transient liquid phase sintering paste.
Transient liquid phase sintering paste. TLPSP.
So this is also material science magic. So we use this to join circuit boards, PCB books together, and make big fat thick PCBs. And you put it on the joint, and when you heat it up to say 240 degrees C, the metal reacts with the base metals and it forms new compounds that will then not remelt till you get to like 800 C.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So this is a new way of electrically bonding conductors in multi-layer boards where you have to go to so many layers. The thickness, they can't be done in a single normal lamination press. They have to be done as multiple boards, which are then sandwiched together. Is that what we're talking about here?
That's exactly it. Or if you want to mix things, like you want to have some Rogers ceramic on the very top 2 layers, and then the rest of it can just be regular FR 408 or 48HR.
Yeah. So just on that, like, you rattled off a bunch of stuff that reveals expertise in the manufacturing side, and people on our Discord, many of us are software developers who tinker with old computers. So no, don't apologize. I'm just giving you a prefix to say, tell us a little bit more about Mark. What do you do? What's your industry? Where do you work? Because I've known you for ages, but
so I am a independent contractor, kind of like Ben. I'll work for anybody that's willing to pay me. A lot of money, though, so don't get any ideas. But right now,
it's not for a crack habit either. It's for legitimate work.
Yeah. So I make videos, I write stuff. But these last few years, I've spent with Royal Circuit Solutions in Advanced Assembly, which are PCB fabrication and assembly, and they just got acquired by Summit Interconnect. So I create content that attracts electrical engineers and then help them solve problems, hopefully. I'm sorry that I keep making noises. I'm going to mute that.
That's how we met. And I see there's a guitar and a soft shell case behind you. So before you go anywhere later, we'll chat about that too. But,
oh yeah, that's new. That's like a few days old.
But Kevin, show us. I'm gonna maximize you so we get a better view, if that's okay with you. But can you show us what you just your new? I don't know if you have another camera or something, but you can. Let me see. I'm gonna give you the floor here. I want to see what you just got. I got to see. This is exciting, people. tell us all about it. Where'd you get it? What did
So-
you pay? How can we do this?
So there is a thing I'm forgetting. So there is a website that sells the 60 clone boards. They also have VIC 20 boards. I built one of those a few months ago. Also, he has a variety of ranges of revisions. I think he pretty much has a 407, the 466, and the 469 revision A, and I think he just got the revision B.
So what's the URL if people want to go there? I'm gonna type it in and put it on a banner.
I actually don't even remember it offhand, but I can get it quickly. So it's the board itself is called a 60 clone board, and it's from Bob's Bits on Tindo.com. Put it in.
Oh, it's at Tindy.
Tindy, TINDEIE. I posted it in it.
Yes. So I'm just going to pop that up there. Bob's Bits on Tindy. Everyone here probably has been to Tindy already. That was one of the Hackaday communities. What would you call it? It's a community shop, basically.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because you can get so many wonderful things on there.
But that was the board. Did you get all the other stuff from Bob's Bits as well? So you had a bunch of parts. Do you have those there to show us?
No, they're in another room halfway across the house.
Yeah, no problem.
So the part. So there is a seller on the Retro 8-bit shop called the Run Stop Restore. He sells the parts kits, which gives you the sockets, the resistors, diodes, basic logic ICs, and also the connectors like the cartridge port, video port, the serial port, and joystick ports. And then, of course, you would have to source some of the Moss branded chips yourself. Although he does sell some of them too, like the 8701. I did see some of the ROMs there too.
Right. So this is for those. This is where you got some of your other chips and parts. I've been here once before. Yeah, and that PLA replacement's almost going to be a must-have for a lot of people, I think, because the PLA dies. That's one of the hardest things to get a hold of.
Yeah, I like to joke that the PLA is like the red shirt from the original Star Trek show.
That's a good one. Oh, and they actually have some recycled new old stock even.
Where'd they find that?
That is awesome. So CIA's. Another place I like to go, just to mention it, that you might be able to get some of these or some aftermarket versions. And I've had good experience so far, but I can't vouch for them entirely, of course. But UT Source is not too bad from my own personal experience. If I wanted an actual CPU or some of those, some of the associated I/O parts, like the 6522, I'm pretty sure I could get those here as well. Let's see. Look, here's SOP 14. Well, that's probably not a MOS 6522. No, it isn't. But there may be some other aftermarket branded, because MOS did license out the chips to a number of multiple sources, because here in the US, the military, and it's probably similar in other nations, right? The military needs more than one source for parts. So they'll say, well, we want to use your 6502. It's really cool. It's got great development support community. Everyone here loves it. But we have to be able to buy it not just from you. We have to also be able to buy it from anyone on this list of suppliers. So you go and find one of them to partner with and license the IP. License that will make a mask set for them, and they'll pay you money for that, and then we can get it from either. So yeah. Oh, this is cool though. Yeah, I like this place. I have been to this store once before, but I haven't purchased anything from there. So you got the socket kit there. I can see that.
No, there's actually the listing right there. Part 60.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the pricing. I guess euro, so it's a little more to buy and have it shipped to the States. Do they warehouse everything in Europe, or
Yeah,
like do you have to wait?
he puts it, he has it, and then I bought. So when I bought it, I can't even talk right. So when I bought it, it's very fast for shipping, like maybe 1 or 2 days, and it comes in the box. The
And
picture.
and your option was the 250469. So what? Tell us about what's the difference with these options. I guess this one is the fully fledged, or oh no, that one's actually 407 is more expensive, but it doesn't seem to indicate what it comes with. Okay, and the 466 option is somewhere in between. And I love that red board. That just looks so awesome.
Oh yeah, the red board is just amazing, especially when you get it in person.
And of course, round sockets. So those are machine pin versus leaf. Which ones did you go for?
I went with the leaf spring because I've had my own little scare moment with a round pin when I last built a 60 clone board.
Ah,
I, so I put one board together, and there was an issue with the board. So I already had all the components in, so I was trying to move the chips out. And when I removed one, it looked normal to me, but I noticed a piece of the machine pin came out with the chips.
ouch, ouch.
So I'm like, uh-oh.
So I used to swear black and blue. Oh, I only ever want to use machine pin sockets. Until I realized sometimes some of the machine pin sockets grip the pins too tight, and they can actually bend or damage the lead frame of the part if you have to pull it out.
And also, leaf spring can give you a little more wiggle room when the legs are not perfect. If they're not perfect, you're going to have a problem trying to put it in.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So let's have a look. I guess they have some nice zoom pictures here, but I can't get it to expand and fill the screen. But so this comes with, you mentioned pretty much everything needed, but not the actual MOS chips. Because
Not the mouse branded chips. For a while, it did come with like the 8701 because when I bought the packs with the 466, it did come with it. But now I think it says it's now separate. But all the basic logic chips, it always comes with those. RAM, it also comes with.
I feel like Johan Grip, Johan. I feel like you should partner with these guys and sell and develop the kit for the Neo 128. I mean, maybe you don't want to, and you're already selling them through your own site too. But I don't know. Just a thought. Just a thought. See, I used to feel like I had to do every single thing on my own. And Mark Hughes, one of the things you've really been teaching me a lot without meaning to this year is it's a massive blessing to have people around you, and kind of whether you're just friends and helping each other out, or whether you're officially part of a team doing something, it makes a massive difference. So again, another good reason, join the Discord. Go to coriolis-effect.com. The URL's below, but at the top there's a Discord link. You will find people who can help you with all sorts of electronics and retro computing stuff on our Discord now. So it's definitely worth joining.
We also have nice people too. It's a nice place to just hang out and just talk to people too.
Yep, there's a lot of channels now with a lot of interesting discussions, and we have people ranging from we have people ranging from high school students who are into retro computing because their dad was into it maybe, or they've just found a passion for it on their own, all the way up to this. I wouldn't doubt there are PhD qualified software developers in there, and people like me. I'm pretty much a hardware person. I'm a computer systems engineer, but I started out as a bench technician repairing telephone typewriters, some of which were made in the 70s and used the original Intel 8048 microcontrollers. So Well, that's awesome, Kevin. I can see why you're excited to get to the weekend and start putting all this together. What advice do you have for sourcing the moss or the actual Commodore parts? Since you've done this a few times by now, what advice can you offer?
Stay away from Chinese sellers. That's the first one.
You've had a few relabeled fakes, I'm guessing.
I just keep hearing it. I had one personal thing myself. I don't think it was a relabel, but I did buy two Vic ones a few years ago. One worked, but the other one didn't. Didn't cost an arm and a leg, but now they do.
And it's painful when you spend all that money on something and it just don't work. That hurts.
Exactly.
Even in as much as it delays your project and your joy getting to see it come to life, you know. So yeah. So what else have you mentioned the Vic chips, and you've so this is not your first rodeo, Kevin. You've what other kits or restorations have you done before now?
I've only really put together a few other Commodore 64 boards. There were the 466, and I did put together one VIC-20 cost reduced board. This website also has the parts kit for that too. And even though I did have the original VIC-20 board, since I have so little space for such like the power bricks themselves, I thought it would be easier to go with the cost reduced one, so that way I can use the same power supply for both the Commodore 64 and the VIC-20.
That makes sense. So this is the Vicky 20. I like the name of it.
And it's the same person who makes the 60 clone board.
That is really cool.
Again, you get all the basic logic ICs, the RAM. Obviously, you would have to get the video chip on your own. I think I've seen some of the PAL Vic one on his website too. And
I'm pretty sure there should be some other. I know there's plenty of FPGA implementations out there, and that's probably what I'm going to end up going for, because just being pragmatic. I know there are some of us who are like, if you can get the original chips, as much as possible, do that. Because that's part of the whole experience. Given that many of them are failing after 40 years, I'm of the opinion I want to go for this, but I'll probably wind up starting out with CPLD or FPGA implementations of some of this stuff, because I don't know. I just like programmable logic as well as one of my things.
I mean, I can't blame you. I mean, I like to search eBay when I'm bored, and I just find it extremely hard to find.
So dangerous.
It is dangerous. But if it's nice to get a quick laugh and see how many the prices sellers are asking for.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to like the NTSC version of the VIC-1, it's extremely hard to find those nowadays. I checked this morning and I only found one seller, and it was like $100, and it was from China.
Ouch.
Man.
It's almost worth, here's an idea. Here's a little business idea to ride the wave of the retro hobby. But it's silly and it wouldn't be worth it. But just for fun, imagine building or getting hold of a DIP 40 lead frame molding plates and designing a little thin board that actually has a CPLD on it, and whatever boot circuitry is needed to make it get up and running right away, and then just make an identical pinout and voltage, the voltages and everything. So in essence, a module exactly like a lot of the replacement modules you can buy in shops like this one, right? But encapsulate the whole thing in plastic and stamp it as the original part.
That's totally doable.
It's totally
got
doable.
Plenty of board space.
It's also totally dishonest unless
Not if you tell
unless
the
you would,
truth about it.
yeah, unless you would say, look, we're doing this for the look. And yeah, label it accordingly, but put the original part number on it with some other suffix or something so people know.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny because there are things you can buy from AliExpress and source from Chinese semiconductor companies that are essentially like that, where they'll stack chips and wire bond them together in one encapsulated module. You know, that's not new. Most semiconductor companies have products that they put together that way. That's normal. But where it's a clone. So I know that they've done this with some of the STM32 clones that were early on actually sold as STM32s, but aren't ST Micro manufactured. And then some of those factories are selling them legitimately as their own brand of part, but they're not the same inside. They're an equivalent ARM microcontroller, but they added more flash by stacking the die, for example. So I know GigaDevice did some of. I'm not saying GigaDevice cloned STM32s and labeled them STM32s. I don't think they did that, but I know some of their chips were actually multi-chip modules in one little package. So yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Well, hey, can I share something else for your viewers that they might be interested in?
Yes.
All right.
I wanted to get you looped back around on Teach Me PCB, which I mentioned earlier. So,
sure. Yeah, we can talk about that. So the first thing, though, for people that want to assemble a board and you want to get a soldering iron, this is the Pine Sill. They're $35 on Amazon, $25 on from China, but they are great little soldering irons. You just can't beat it. It's got like an auto off feature. You know, when you have it set down, it won't do anything. Sorry,
that's amazing.
I'm not focusing on it. You can run it off of USB-C, or there's a little 5.1, I think it is, millimeter plug. But $25, you just can't beat it. It's got removable.
Right. Does it have its own battery inside? Is it wireless?
It does not have its own battery. You have to plug it into a USB-C or a DC.
I see. That would be the one change that would make that the perfect soldering iron.
Oh yeah, but here's the cool thing. The problem with most soldering irons, most cheap soldering irons, and I don't have one handy, but you've got a non-solid tip. The tip sits atop a ceramic heating element and thermistor, and there's some airspace in there. So, you know, getting true temperature, it's really hard to do. The Pine Sill tips are solid molded, right? You replace the whole thing. So you get a very, very precise temperature for $25. I haven't found anything comparable to this quality. And especially if you get a little, this isn't a silicone one, but you get a little silicone USB cable, and man, you're just good to go. But since it is USB-C, Ben, you asked if it's got a battery. It doesn't, but your phone does, and it can run off these just fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm just thinking, I want a soldering iron that's cordless.
Yeah, like a little.
They may exist. Maybe the same company makes a version that's got its own, 18650 lithium cell inside, and it can run cordless.
Weller had one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't last too long, but it would last long enough to be worth having.
Yeah, Weller had one back as far as like the 1980s, 1990s. I remember playing with one of those as a kid.
I have one. It's gas powered.
Oh, no. Not those. These had two little rechargeable C cells in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. I mean, it wasn't good, but it was battery powered. It was cordless. It was great.
My Weller gas powered pocket soldering iron, which it's funny because we always used to joke about putting it back in your pocket while it was still hot. Just imagine burning through your shirt into your pectoral muscles. But those were awesome. The little, and it came with like a little kit for. It came with a little kit that had like a hot knife for And I used to use it for plastic, like cutting square holes in plastic project boxes and things.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, those were really useful. But it eventually started leaking and wouldn't retain the butane, so I had to throw it out.
But Ben, I've got good news for your viewers. You and I, my friend, we're giving 6 of these away.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding. You want to know how?
How? Come on, Mark.
Okay.
And this wasn't planned, by the way, everyone. Mark's just telling me this now. This is
You're actually gonna learn about this officially in our Creators Corner chat on Friday.
Oh, okay.
So, my friend, I taught this thing called Teach Me PCB, which is a website we taught people how to make their first printed circuit boards. It was a little macro keyboard, something
do you want to bring up the site so people can see it?
No, I don't know what's going to happen to it. We can talk about that in a minute. But
Okay.
I want to tell them about how to win stuff first. So anyways, we taught people how to make their own little macro pads. Soup to nuts, start to finish. You get you in the course, you get a board in your hand. And as part of that, I made something as a thank you gift to some key contributors in the course. And we made a flat pack PCB holder.
Those are awesome. And I did know you were working on those. I have seen that before.
So what we're going to do is turn this into a PCB design competition. The rules to be completely decided next Friday. But we'll make it at all levels. So people who have never made a board before, all the way up to people who know how to design boards, have categories to compete in. And the winners of the categories are going to get the Pine Sol soldering irons. So keep an eye out. Ben will notify Coriolis Effect once we have that going. Give us a couple weeks.
I'm sure there are plenty of people in our community who want to get involved in that.
Yeah, so give us a couple of weeks to figure out the particulars, but you'll be basically coming up with a pen or pencil holder. It's going to have to be multi-layered, and you're going to have to run signals through it. It's going to have to do something. Light up, put a microcontroller on the bottom, put a display on the side. I don't know yet. We're going to find out.
Right.
Now,
so
I've
just put up the URL for those. This is the course website. I was originally talking with Mark about doing a course myself as well here. I probably don't have time to do that right now, but the course is there. Particularly if you're doing open source, your course, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but the main tool of reference is KiCad. So if anyone's using open source flows, your course is the one to do, from what I can see.
Yeah, so it's kind of dead right now. Just the backstory is that when we created the course, shortly after, the companies got acquired. And Teach Me PCB wasn't mentioned in the acquisition. So nobody really knows who owns it right now. So nobody can work on it. But you can still log in, create an account. You can still get all of the old course materials. I just can't run another course until we get that settled out. And, who would pay me is what I'm about. Me, Ben, mean money grubbing booger. But the content's all there.
And for those, just for context, the reason I sent that book, The Go Giver, to Mark was actually not because I think he needs to read it. It's because he's actually already naturally a go-giver type person. And I said, they wrote a book about you, bro. Like, send you this. This is who you are, because Mark is the kind of guy who, like, I was in a hard spot a couple of months ago, and like, you immediately connected me with like 3 or 4 other people, and it's led to me doing some contract work and making some money. And like, you are just one of the most generous, positive souls I've ever known. So I just
those are all dirty lies, Ben. Lies. But thank you. But yeah, you guys can get the content, learn how to make a PCB. We have a Discord that's pretty much dead because nobody's tended to the Rose Garden for 8 months, but there's still a few key contributors in there that are more than happy to help as well. Yeah. So check it out.
I really like this too. Someone just posted in response in our Discord. I'm going to share my screen really quick too. Give me 1 second here. Let me share my screen again because this is cool. And I think Kevin, this was someone was specifically reaching out to you about this, but an acrylic house. Look at that. That's German for acrylic housing. I can tell. I don't speak German, but I get that. Acrylic house. Look at that. Acrylic housing for a C64. That looks
it does look nice.
That looks sick.
It does look really nice.
And I guess it's all made of flat panels that are laser cut, which is nice. That's exactly how I would probably do it myself. I have a K40 and I could do that, but I wouldn't go to the effort when, look, for 64 euros, I could just have this shipped out to me.
Yeah.
So that might be the way to go. That looks dead sexy, I've got to say. And here is the TMPCB site, by the way, folks. And this was Mark's example. His Mark, your own version of the. Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
look at that. That is cool. If
so
you
the
want
rule.
macro pad,
The rule was no rectangular boards and no skulls, right? I wanted people to get creative. So this was modeled after the Teach Me PCB logo,
Yep.
based on the RP 2040.
I love it. And that's the brain.
And I don't know if people are, I know a lot of the Raspberry Pi stuff's out of stock. So if anybody's having trouble getting a hold of the 2040s, I can hook you up if you make
Although, oddly enough, compared to other popular microcontrollers, they've done a great job at being available lately. I've got to say, I'm incentivized to use RP2040s for projects because not only is the Cortex M0 Plus is actually a pretty powerful little thumb instruction set, but it's a dual core. And I think being an M0 Plus, doesn't that mean it has a single cycle multiply and divide? I think that's
I wouldn't know.
Plus means. If that's true, it means you can even do DSP on that little thing, and that's pretty powerful. If you got a little microcontroller that's even on the carrier board, the RP2040 or the Raspberry Pi Pico board, the non-Wi-Fi version is $4. $4. If you buy the microcontroller on its own, it's what, $2?
Yeah. Well, you can get them for $1 sometimes, or used
that's
to.
Insane value for money.
Yeah.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah.
I
still have some Picos.
You took me right back and to RoboCop, which was one of the best games also, not just a great movie from the 80s, but one of the best games for the C64 of all times was the RoboCop game. Did you ever play that one, Kevin?
No, although I do need to play it.
That's a good one. Did you have a favorite game? I ask everyone.
Actually, to say the truth, I actually was never around when the Commodore 64 was in its heyday.
Do you have a favorite game now?
Right now, it's probably the Witch Chronicles and Speedball.
Oh, Speedball was awesome. That was another awesome game. Witch Chronicles I haven't played. So I have not had the exposure to that one.
It's a pretty nice game. I played it. I play it on my Backbit cartridge, which I have it here. I use this to play some games on my Commodore 64. Although I do have some games on floppy disk. I've actually gone out of my way to copy onto floppy from like an SD card reader. I have a box here.
You get the full experience.
Yeah, I load for probably Witch Chronicles, I load it from the cartridge, although there's an issue when it comes to saving it, so I keep the save data on a floppy.
That is cool.
How fun.
Okay, well, that's cool. So we're going to keep our eyes out for the design competition, Mark, coming up very soon.
Well, next Friday, you and I will be on a call and with a few other creators, and we'll discuss the rules and how best to implement it. And I've already got the prizes, so unless anybody else wants to contribute, we're giving out pencils.
That is cool. That is very cool.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at the time. We're already 10 minutes past the hour. I'm cool to keep going as long as you guys want. But I just wanted to mention that in case you had other engagements to get to.
Now, the next thing on my list is lunch, so I got a couple minutes.
But you have. I do want to see your new guitar. I know you.
Okay.
I'm a guitarist. Everyone on this channel probably knows that by now. If you get on my stream and you have a guitar in the background, I'm going to tell you to show it to me.
All right. So here's the background. I have had a baby Taylor since probably 2000, 2001. And it's my favorite guitar to play for a couple of reasons. One is just the size of it. I love it. And two, it's not an expensive guitar. It's a $300 guitar. So having it bounce around.
And yet they're made here in San Diego.
They're great.
The Taylor factory is here right down the road from me. And, these are
nothing bad to say about it, except when I took it out of the case. I don't know when it was. Probably about a month ago, the joint at the headstock just past the nut was cracked. The glue joint had let go.
Yeah.
And it had only partially let go too. So it was like, I was like, how do I fix this? So it's in the garage. I've actually got it glued together. I've got it refinished. Now it's time to reset the nut and put it all back together and see if it stays.
You are game doing your own luthiery. I had a guitar, a classical Canadian made La Patrie, beautiful redwood cedar solid wood top. It was actually my wife's guitar, but when we moved country from Sydney, Australia to San Diego, the airline mishandled it and the headstock was snapped off. And it sat in the cupboard. Every time I looked at it, I'm like, it just looked so depressing. But I eventually found a really good shop here in San Diego, and they fixed it, and it looked like nothing had ever happened to it. Nice. I was amazed how good they did. Like, you couldn't even see where the fracture was. It was amazing.
Outstanding.
So
see, but
they're amazing. Yeah.
Here's the issue, though. With the $300 guitar, how much are you going to pay somebody to go fix that for you?
Yeah, you're not going to get all heartbroken over it.
Yeah, but so we'll see what happens.
With a high-end classical made in Canada, yeah, I was going to do it. And it wasn't too expensive. The job was $180. And that was here in Southern California, so that wasn't bad at all.
So here's my other issue is that I like acoustic. Every now and again, I'll plug in or whatever, but mostly it's acoustic. But I also have a little bit of neuropathy. So when I go to pick up an electric, I can't really feel my fingers on the strings anymore. So I like having the high tension. Now, before I pull this out, I'm building up the tension a little bit. My wife's birthday was earlier this month, and we went by, had dinner, and we were just screwing around. We walked into the music store, and we weren't looking for anything. My Taylor was broken, but my wife found a little 4-string acoustic bass she wanted, and it was like $200. I'm like, yeah, that's no problem. And then this was on the wall, and it was on clearance, but I have never spent this much on a guitar in my life, and probably never will again. It's a little too much. But this is a Fender, and I forget, is this the Telecaster or Stratocaster?
That's an acoustic Telecaster, and I want. That is amazing. Are you kidding?
So
that is a beautiful guitar. It's a piezo bridge pickup, so you can get acoustic sounds out of it, and still a Telecaster bridge magnetic pickup, so you can rock it out. That is awesome.
And then there's
Carbon-made guitars like this, and they stopped after the Carbon brand split to Carbon for PA and Kiesel for guitars. But they used to make one called an AE185, and it was like this, and it was a beautiful guitar as well. But that's an amazing guitar. I had no idea Fender did those.
I didn't either, and apparently this particular version was on clear. It's still $1,600. It's not a cheap guitar.
No, that's a beautiful instrument, and I'd say worth every penny of $1,600.
So then it's got, the ebony, you've got full access to the electronics on the back.
Oh, yes, come on.
Much nicer guitar than then I am a player. I will say that. That's fair.
One of these
So-
days when I come visit you at your place, because you're in Southern California, you're in Orange
am.
County somewhere, right?
Northern Orange. Yeah.
I'll come have a coffee with you one of these mornings up there, and we'll jam out together.
Oh, you're gonna love it up here, Ben. I'll loan you the guitar for it. It's yours. So, yeah. So, anyways, that's the new guitar. So I've been
That is
playing a little.
beautiful. Well, actually, you know what? I have a theory. Theory is the wrong word, because theory means it's actually accepted. It's generally accepted because it's been shown to be true enough by everyone that it's then generally accepted. That's what a theory is. So I shouldn't use that word. I have a hypothesis that whenever any level of musician, whenever you get a really good quality instrument or new bit of gear that's good, it encourages you to, you'll end up practicing more, because you just,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is awesome. Like, you get a dopamine hit every time you pull the thing out. So therefore, and what spouses of musicians need to get on board with this, that it is necessary for musicians, particularly guitarists, to change gear every once in a while. Because if you don't, and when I say change gear, I really mean buy something new. Collect something, because that's what can get you out of a rut of not practicing enough, or being bored with something. And I know for me, like, it's as much electronics, like effects units and things like that. That's why I do it. And I've built up enough, and it could be the same with retro computing, right? You build up enough of things that eventually you can say, well, maybe I could sell this one. It's worth more now than it was when I put it together or built it. There seems to be demand for it. Maybe I'll sell it now, and then, that frees up some funds to go get something different or do something else. So,
well, I think the reason I got away with that is, I haven't had a new guitar in 20 years. So,
wow, that's a long time to wait.
I was happy with it. I really was happy with my baby Taylor. Like, I'd pick up other people's guitars, and then I'd go back to my little baby Taylor. So I put in electronics on it. Now you can get them with electrics, but I put in a bridge pickup.
Yeah.
I was happy with that. I'd play other people's guitars, and I just want to go back to my Taylor. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're that good, and Taylors are really amazing.
Yeah,
as well.
A lot of good memories.
Totally off topic, but not really. I think a lot of us, Bill, we talk about music every now and then too, because most of you know by now, Bill is actually a violinist. He swears he can't play anymore, and he basically gave it up after he lost his ring finger in an accident. I just think he got, like a lot of us, we get too busy with our careers and engineering and other things to put the time into music. But seriously, most engineers and technically minded people wind up being somewhat musical as well. That's what I've discovered. So
there's a lot of people, and it seems to be a lot of guitar people.
Because guitars give you an opportunity to do electronics in a way that other things don't. Synthesizers as well. There's quite a few folks on our Discord who are synthesizer gurus too. So
interesting.
Yeah. So Kevin, are you designing electronics in a day job, or you just keep this to your retro computing addiction?
Yeah, it's just a hobby for me.
That's good.
I have a completely different job that's not in the field of electronics, kind of, sort of, not really.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's what I love about these things, because it kind of, you have no idea how useful it can be. There's another book I really, really enjoyed reading, which was, and you can take or leave Scott Adams and his tweeting, right, and his political stuff. Totally take or leave it, but his book, how to fail at almost everything and still win big. It's basically the autobiography of Scott Adams, who is the author and illustrator of Dilbert, and many of us being technical people have read Dilbert comics, right? But one of the things that did come through in his autobiography that I really appreciated was this concept that you should always try to learn other things, because you just never know how useful it can be. And he was saying he failed at almost all the corporate jobs he tried to have. He tried to be a programmer, tried to be an accountant, tried to be a business manager, even tried opening a restaurant, and failed at a whole lot of things. But he learnt certain things along the way that led to him developing. It basically led to an ability to understand what other people were talking about enough to where he could. It led to him being able to work with teams a lot better. And so Kevin, you building 64s as a hobby, you've learned enough about electronics, right? And you obviously know quite a bit about it by now, to be doing that. That you just don't know how that's going to benefit you in your job someday in the future as well, and your ability to move into something maybe that's more passion related, because everyone's always looking for that opportunity to do the thing you love and get paid for it, right? Just know where that could go.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, if anything, the diversification makes you better at whatever job, no matter what direction you go to. If you find something you're passionate about, you're going to find new ways to solve problems. And at the very least, you're going to be happier, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Very true. So what else do you guys do on the Coriolis effect? I only come by periodically.
Yeah. Well, it's always a discussion like this. We often have a lot of guests. Sometimes they're folks from the community, like Kevin. Thanks so much for joining me and being available at such short notice too. I just seen your post this morning. I knew Bill couldn't join me today because of the contract. He's being forced to do it at this time, so we couldn't do the regular time. And so it's just more of this. And I'm thinking now, I'd love to get the community's feedback, so I'll probably post a poll in the Discord later today to ask about this. There's been some really generous people provide financial support for the Coriolis effect. We've got our StreamYard paid for a whole year, basically, which is pretty awesome.
Very much.
Bill and I have paid for various other things. Bill's hosting the website. But I'm considering what we do is we should probably, and I have no idea what to do, but I feel like we're ready to do some kind of project together that could be cool for the community members. So I'd love to get people's ideas. We've talked about swag too. I'd like to get some caps and t-shirts. They don't make money. They're just for us to have something cool that's like we're part of this thing, So I'd like to get people's ideas and opinions on that stuff. And I thought maybe we could Bill and I could design an open source product together and launch it, get it on Tindy, and make it something that is inspired by the Coriolis effect community. So I'd love to hear what people think about that. So keep your eyes out for that on the Discord, and be ready to share your thoughts and ideas. That would be really cool.
Ben, if I don't know if this would be useful, but just hearing what I heard Kevin, he was having trouble with desoldering and, worried about hurting these chips. I could imagine some new users being a little scared of soldering. Maybe you could spend a few minutes and I'd be happy to come back and turn on my setup here to help, but we could teach people how to solder and desolder.
Absolutely, I can do. That's the first thing I learned. I got my first soldering iron when I was 8 years old. And so I've got a lot of experience. I've got 39 years of experience. So do the math there, you know how old I am.
But yeah, I can show you some tips and tricks. You don't have to spend a ton of money on gear, on even though I mean the prices now are nothing compared to what it used to be.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I could come back if you want. I mean, you're more than capable too. I just have some cameras.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. And actually, I can help support myself a little bit in that I can generate affiliate links to Amazon to the ones that I'm actually buying now and using myself. So so that's a possibility as well. But yeah, I mean, we're nearly at 12:30. It's 12:25. I mean, anything else you guys wanted to chat about or discuss today, or do we end it here? I'm not sure.
I'm good. I'm happy to stay and be the plucky comic relief, or I can go get lunch. It's up to you, buddy.
You know what they say: an army marches on its stomach. Food is always important.
It is.
Yeah, and if we wait any longer, I'm going to end up having deconstructed cereal. So.
Oh my god. That's
better
not
go get
even
something healthier.
That's not even real food.
It's not. It's a box I'm using for cords. I have organizational issues. I don't know what to tell you. It's always going to be like this.
Hey, it's you and me both, brother.
It's just an organized mess. As long as you know where everything is.
That's the weird thing. I don't even have to get out of my chair. I can just reach around and grab what I'm looking for. It's crazy how it works.
I actually maintain that it looks like chaos to those who don't know what the things are. But to the person running the show who's left everything in its place, if someone tries to clean up for them, it's a disaster.
Oh, Lord,
a complete disaster, because they've gone and put things away, and it's like, oh my gosh. It's like, just leave everything where it is. Exactly like you, Mark. When I need that thing, I can reach and put my hand right on it. So yeah,
absolutely.
Although I do fool myself occasionally and discover that I've left. It's usually my phone or my car keys. Those are the ones that I can't always easily just put my hand on. Yeah.
So, well, no, this was a lot of fun. Nice to meet you, Kevin.
Nice to meet you.
And thanks for having me on, Ben. I enjoyed spending some time with you.
Thanks for joining both of us, and enjoy your weekend, Kevin. I expect to see great things as you put that together and get it up and running and boot it up. Let's see some progress on the Discord, some more photos as you progress through the project, and maybe consider jumping back on and showing it to us in action again next week if you have the spare few minutes to just jump on quickly, and if it's up and running by then. I guess you said you were still waiting for some of the other parts.
No, I actually have everything started. The way I like to try doing is I wait till I have everything and then I go and start putting it together, which is what I actually started. I started with the sockets just now.
I can already see you're so much more disciplined than myself.
Yeah, I would have been going at it all monkey style by now. Just
yeah, I don't have the benefit of a permanent place where I can do soldering. I have to set it up, so it's easier for me to just wait.
That makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, when you have to use a dining room, it's probably a good idea to wait till everything is here so I can do everything in one day.
Yep, totally.
Makes sense.
Well, do enjoy the process of putting that together. It's going to be a lot of fun bringing that thing up. So I look forward to seeing the result.
Yep, I hope it turns out like the VIC-20 where just everything just worked.
Oh, it's going to. Electronic projects, always just like that.
I'm detecting a little sarcasm.
Oh, yeah.
I find if it's somebody else's kit, it works every time, first time for me these days. It didn't when I was a kid. I had to learn a lot about, I made a lot of mistakes. But these days, if it's somebody else's design and they've already gone through the hassle of respinning the board because they designed one thing wrong or debugging it in some way, If it's a kit from someone else, it almost always works totally first time for me. It's my own designs that are when I design something from scratch, unless a lot of the audio stuff works first go, but some of the more complex things, I usually discover I've done one little thing wrong, or I need to respin one thing. So it's a constant process of improvement. So that's what it's all about, right? Just keep an open mind and don't get too flustered.
Yeah. You can.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you get too flustered, just leave it alone and come back the next day with a new mind.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
That's good advice too.
And if you're really stuck, jump on the Discord and ask questions. There's lots of nice people there who will help you.
Yeah. There's no shame in asking for help.
That's right.
So, all right, gentlemen. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, it has. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Thanks for
You
watching.
too, Ben.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kevin. It's really exciting to see what you're all working on, and we'll all stay connected. And catch everybody again next week. I'm hoping Bill will be back next week. There is a chance he'll still be working on this big networking restructuring project he has. In which case, we'll do the same thing again. I'll jump on and haven't decided yet whether I'll have it. I guess I'll figure that out later next week, closer to Friday. But everyone, be safe, blessed, healthy. Have a great weekend and enjoy whatever it is you're working on. Thank you so much.
You too, Ben. Don't work too hard.
Have a nice weekend.
Okay.
Bye,
Ciao.
guys.